Alright, today's the day where we're going to finish the solar panels. We're going to hook them up and hopefully they don't hit the side while we're going out. So this is what we ended up with yesterday. So that's at an angle, and the other one is straight across. And my goal for today is to put the wood across the bottom and see how that works, so I can do my locking mechanism wherever I do it. And then start wiring up the charge controllers, because right now there's only 2 panels hooked up, these front 2. So I want to get all 800 watts hooked up instead of 400 like it is right now. So we'll only have half of our potential power hooked up. Some good stuff. So I just cleaned up this little bitty piece of bamboo. I got a whole bunch of big stuff, but this is just the first little one I cut. And of course bamboo's got this hole just like that on both sides. So just temporarily, I got this little bolt right here that I got in there. And then I just go up here, right up here on the top of the solar panel. And that props up the panel perfectly while I can work on stuff. And that's kind of the concept I'm going to have with what I'm going to do with these panels. I want to do bamboo on like both sides over here. This bamboo is strong and it works perfect for this application. Look at that cut that I'm getting with the blade on the Sawzall. Nice clean cut. I was also looking at, instead of having chicken wire across the back here, I can do this smaller bamboo in here somehow, so people can't reach their arms in there or crawl in there and grab stuff. All right, here's how I got this set up here. So I have this board clamped. This is going to be the locking base board on the bottom of the solar panels. And what I did is I put short bolts for now, and I centered it in that hole perfectly. So there's these bigger holes, and I centered it left and right and everything, so I can have some adjustment later if I need to. So both of these are centered in the hole. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to gently lay it down and leave a mark on the wood where I need to drill the hole. And then I'll put longer bolts up here into the wood. And then that's how it's going to be bolted to the panel. So I got this exactly where I want it. I kind of want it to come forward like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it. I'm just going to do that. Some taps. See if it shows a drill point anywhere. I see one right here. Little dragonfly landed. Isn't that cool? I'm going to take him over here to the water. Maybe he needs something to drink, or she. Let's see, where can I put him? Right here. Come on, little guy. There you go. All right. That was cool. When's the last time you got to pick up a dragonfly or have one land on you? That rocks. All right, let's get back to work here. So that's what we got right here. So that's going to work good. And I can also put another piece in here if I want for my locking mechanism. I can use my existing screws and then have that bolted on with there, so I don't screw into the the main one. So like if I don't like this setup and I want to put a bigger panel on later, I'm not drilling new holes into my wood. I can use the existing holes, and I have sacrificed pieces that I'm drilling into. So there we go. Got the board on both sides now. We'll just close her off here like that on both sides. So that's the board on that side, on the bottom. And we'll do this side. I don't have my camera on my chest. So there we go. Looks really good. Now I'm going to focus on maybe wiring and the locking devices for this. All right, so we're going to use the power coming from the truck. There's the cord. Follow it all the way back here. And we're going to cut these boards with the power of the truck. Just like that. All right, board number 2. Just like that. Here's a little tech tip. This is the toothpaste I use, but I also use it to wash my hands. So I keep this by the kitchen sink. So what I need is I need to screw this onto here. I want to use the existing screws, okay? I don't want to drill any new holes in this because this is going to be the sacrifice wood if I want to change this setup. I don't want to mess up this wood here the way it looks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my toothpaste. This is a little tip here, trick, whatever you want to call it. So you just dab a little bit right there on the end. You don't need much. A little bit right there. And then this side's going to be a little bit harder to do. I'm going to have to do that with my finger to reach it. But we'll do it just like that to reach that one. And then, of course, you want to clean your finger off. You don't want to get this on the wood. So this wood right here is looks new where I cut it. So I'm just going to come over here and give it some of that action right there. So we're going to be using this to detail the to make some of the new cuts look old. So that's how you can clean off your finger when you're working with old wood that looks new and you want it to look old again. So I'll work on that a little bit more, but now my finger's clean so we won't get it on anything. And now what you do is you make sure you only got one chance at this. So you line it up, and I'm going to stick it up in here like that. I'm going to line up the bottom and the top perfectly here. And then we're going to slowly push it down where we think it should be right there. Give it a little bit of a move back and forth. You don't need much. And then we should have the imprint of the toothpaste. If my screws were out enough. I don't know if they are. That one's there, and that one's there, yeah. So now we should have toothpaste imprints where we need to drill, right there and there and there. So that's how you do that little trick. And toothpaste is your friend there. Another little tip here is you can take the screws that you're using and go right on the center of where you got the little hex head right there. And then you can use that as a little punch. It's just stuff that you already have around. And you center it, you work it around in there. This one right here. This one's pretty close to the edge, but that's okay. All right. And another tip, you want to, if you're working with old wood like this and it's always trying to walk on you, your bit, start your bit backwards for just a second with down pressure. Run your bit backwards and then run it forwards, because it's going to go down a little bit, and that'll get it lined up perfectly instead of it. Because what happens is when you run it forwards, it's going to walk and grab. But if you run it backwards, it's going to stay in this little channel that you built with the screw. Does that make sense? So that's how you can get it really accurate when you're working with stuff like this. We're going to take our solar power drill there. You can see the amp load go up when I trigger the drill. Amps jump up to about 6 or 8. I don't know if you can see that. So anyway, solar powered. So the truck is building itself with its own power. It's been doing that the whole time since I've been working on this project. Whether I'm using 110 power or 12 volts like this. This is 12 volts, and then I have the inverter in the truck. So this is what I'm talking about. So your bit doesn't walk. You can do this with any size bits. This is the thing you want to do. This is a technique. Run your drill backwards. And sometimes it'll drill through backwards just like that, depending on the wood. It's really thin. See, it just went, I'm running my drill backwards. See that? And it stops the bit from walking. And you really never want to drill down to another piece of metal. Dull your bit. So there we go. That's it. So now we got our holes right here on the other side. And this is I'm gonna take these screws out, and I'm gonna get longer screws, and it'll screw right into place. And we don't mess up our original wood if I want to replace this sacrifice piece for my locking mechanism, because I don't want to mess this stuff up. Also use a unibit for countersinking. It's just something I already have here. I don't have to figure out what size I need for countersinking. I just use my hands right here, and I'll do each one of these, and you just kind of eyeball it for the type of screw that you're using. And because we're doing a fashion show here, we want it to look good. There we go. So we got our second sacrifice piece of wood there. So we can screw stuff to it. It's not a big deal. If we want to replace it, it's not going to mess up this whole upright. If you want it darker, doesn't matter. Like I said, this is not a fashion show. This is a function show for me. So we don't want new wood, right? We want it to look like it's been there and done that. So this time we're not going to put that much, just that much. We're going to work our way down, stagger it around here, blot it, all that fun stuff. And there we go. And then we'll clean that off, and it'll look just like old. It'll look just like old again. So that's what you want. So anywhere where I see any new cuts, which I did my best to not have any new cuts, this is the only place where I had new cuts back here, I'll be using this technique. And I'll show you what it looks like when you wipe it off. Wet paper towel, that's what I got laying around here. Just wipe off any of the extra. And you know, if you got like a black sock, that would work better, so the white stuff's not coming off like the paper towel. But I'm not going to go get a black sock for that. But yeah, now you don't see the new wood cuts. Look at that. It's just like the old stuff. So it's a little tech tip there for detailing old wood. Charcoal toothpaste works great. So if a HQST engineer ever watches this, these holes are way too small. It won't fit. Wood screws, drywall screws, nothing you can buy will fit that. I don't have anything that, well, I have some really small stuff, but I'm not going to have that small of a screw. So anyway, I'm drilling these out because that's just really not a good design. That's a design flaw. So you're getting red tagged on that. So I need to put this copper end on this copper cable, but I don't have the proper tool. So what should I do here? Well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the old trusty vice grips, and I'm going to do it right in the middle. That's how I'm going to start. And what you do is you take your vice grips and you just start, you hold that in there tight, and you creak them down just one notch at a time, like that. And then you readjust it, screw it down a little bit, and then you go down. This is a technique I've used for, well, since I've been really doing these, because I don't have the proper tool, and it works for me. Just takes a little bit longer, but I do both sides that way, and I'll show you what I end up with. So that's what you end up with. It doesn't look pretty, You could put some heat shrink around that, whatever, to hide it, but it works for me. I'm only going to be pushing 15 amps to 20 through this at the most. So yeah, this is definitely overkill, but yeah, that's how I get around not having the proper tool sometimes. I would say if the tool works, then maybe it is the proper tool. What do you say? So and the reason why I needed to put that on here is because that's going to go on my cutoff switch right here, right on the back here. So that's why we did that. And then this is going to go to the charge controller. And I'm going to turn down no agenda just for a second. And just a little tech tip, when you're doing your charge controllers like this, trust me, you will thank me later on this. All right, put a little cabinet hinge like I have on here, any type of hinging. You see the hinge right there? And then use that as your mount. So get you a little board, mount it on a board, and then that way, wherever you mount this thing, here's the thing, here's what happens. Let's say we're mounting it right here. Well, to put the wires under here, it is a pain to see the wires going in and all that mess. You mount it on a hinge like that, especially a cabinet hinge, because it'll allow it to go up at a higher angle, and you can see where the wires go in. And you can put them in there and they won't get all out of place and everything. It's the best way to do that. So anytime you can put a hinge on your charge controller, I would definitely recommend it. So now, instead of me trying to figure out where the wires go, you just flip it up like that, and boom. That's what I'm talking about. Cabinet hinges are really cool. The reason why I like cabinet hinges for stuff like this is because you can screw the top part in. You don't have to worry about screwing underneath here and getting your measurement just right. Once you get it on your backplane wood, then you can do the top screws, and it's a lot easier for the install. And they don't look bad. They're kind of fancy looking hinges like these. That's the same hinge, cabinet hinge. Also want to leave maintenance slack, so you want to leave enough slack so you can swing it up like that. So that's something else you want to keep in mind. The way I do stuff, I'm always move, add, changing it types thing. So a lot of my stuff is data points. This is probably going to be more permanent. I just want to show you something real quick. So I disconnected my alternator. So the truck is only running on solar power as far as the electrical. So it's taking 5.2 amps to run the truck. That's the laptop and the truck. But watch this, when I idle the truck up, it's going to increase the spark. It's going to take more power to idle it up. So the spark is increasing, so we're using more energy to keep the motor running, and that's what's going on there. So that's the electronic ignition system working right there. The more we idle up, the more energy it takes. You see how that works? I always like to check my voltage to make sure the positive and negative is correct, even though it's kind of hard to mess these up. But when you put your own MC4s on, I always like to double check. So the front 200 watt panel is hooked to this charge controller in the front, and the back two 200 watt panels on the top are going to be hooked to this back charge controller right here. So let's see what kind of voltage we get just before we hook anything up. Let's go right into the MC4 here. We're getting 18.2 volts. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the system under a load before we hook it up to try to draw the battery down a little bit. So I got the headlights on. It's running the inverter. It's running the laptop. It's running the radio. I just turned it down so I didn't get a copyright strike. So let's go ahead and hook this up. So right now we're pulling the battery down to 12.6. Let's see what the front panel's putting out first. We're getting 3.2 amps from the front panel because the sun is at a pretty good angle. So we should be getting about 6 amps on this one with the other two panels. So let's hook this hot rod up here. We should start seeing power coming in. There we go. It'll take a second to ramp up. We should see close to 6 amps. 2.3, 3.3. I wish the screen would stay on. Yeah, see how you have to reset the screen? So we're getting 6.3 amps, 6.2. A little bit better than I thought, just by a touch. All right, so I got the headlights on. We're running the radio on the laptop. So with this angle of the sun, I mean, it's fixing to go over the trees. These back two panels are giving us about close to 6.5 amps. It's still not enough to compensate for the fact that I got the headlights on and the laptop running, so we got 6.25. But let's hook up the, let's see. No, let's turn off the lights. So let's see what we got here. So we're still putting out 3 amps on this one. Yep, so all of them are doing about the same. So there we go. Headlights are off, and we should go back up to boost and float. Yeah, we're 13.2. We're getting up there. So here's another cool thing. So let's say I wanted to run my headlights, but I don't need to. Those things pull a pretty good amount of power. They're not LED lights. So I don't have this panel hooked up yet, but right now with the angle of this panel, we would probably be getting close to 5 to 5.5 amps from this panel just by itself. For sure close to 5. And then this one here, I could pitch this one up like this and get a pretty good angle on that, see? And get some good power out of that, probably about 4 amps. So that's the whole idea of having these side panels if I really needed the power, if I was doing something. You see what I'm saying? So that's the cool part about this. Look at all this nice wood. I need to separate all this stuff and keep it out of the weather as much as possible in my spare time. That'll definitely be after the car show. So this seems to be the parts cart. So we're going to keep the theme going here. We're going to just take all this off because I'm going to redo this whole thing. I'm either going to go 48 volts with it or back with 36. And it's going to be just like this cart, solar powered. This was solar powered. It was my 24 volt irrigation. I had that blue barrel on the back, and I had a 12 volt water pump, high flow, and this is how I irrigated the property, the fruit trees and whatever I was planting, watermelons and that kind of stuff. I used this plastic stuff, the same stuff I used on the back of the 65 for the layout. So what's cool about this stuff is you can cut it up like this, and you can use the little holes in the side as wire management or tie downs. It's really a handy material to work with. We got all this. Amp meters are going to come in handy on top of that. So the cool thing about, I'm going to leave these amp meters on these two because each one of these is going to, maybe I'll put one for the both of those panels. So whenever I'm adjusting the angles, I'll be able to see its optimum angle without having to press these little buttons to get to the amp portion. Look at that. We've got all that nasty stuff off this cable, so every time we touch it, we don't have to deal with that. And then here's our gauge, our charge controllers. Got all that pretty much cleaned up. We're going to use at least one of these for both. My plan is to use one of these. These are 30 amps, which they say 30 amp, but I would never put 30 amp into these. I was only hitting these at the most with 10. These are probably really only 15 amp, even though they say 30. I haven't taken apart to look at the MOSFETs. But I'm going to use one for both side panels and probably the other one for the back panel separate. I don't want to put all three into one. That'd just be too much, I think. I don't know, I might put 15. No, I can't because my amp gauges only go up to 10. So yeah, I'm going to keep it separate. That way we got backup. If they both still work, you know, they've been sitting out there for a while. Time to read like a professional dyslexic here. Rip and read time. So this video is going to be obviously a little bit longer. It's been longer than I wanted it to be, but that's okay. I got a lot done. KCA-TV says super cool, getting better every day. That's my dad. Cool. All right. So here's a long one here. Thai guy says, man, that is really cool. Looks great. FryTv now. Just wanted to say thanks for everything you did to help my channel, Fry. Read more. Thanks to you and many others, I was finally able to monetize my channel. Hope to see you in there sometime. Yeah, I've been so busy with the truck projects and the 65. I haven't been able to visit people's chat rooms and as much at all. So that will change definitely in the wintertime when I'm stuck in the house and it's 4 degrees outside and snowing. I will definitely be lurking chat rooms and watching live streams a lot more, hopefully. Alright, so Ernie Keck says, damn Fry, no one better roll around your pad thinking of doing something they shouldn't do. You have more surveillance, let me see, read more, than the U.S. Bureau of Printing. Laugh out loud. Yeah, I got a lot of cameras, and even the 65 has the camera now. Alright, Lisa Robertson says, nice work, Fry. And Parta Bonsai, I'm learning how to say that, I think, better. It says, thanks, Fry. Nice work is coming along. Let's see it. Yeah, it's coming along nice. Yep. All right, Rip Me says, good day, Fry. Interesting to hear your feedback on the different charge controllers. Yes, I'm going to be focusing on that towards the end of this project for sure, to explain why I went with pulse width modulation charge controllers, which are the more affordable, cheaper ones, and overall I'd say more reliable than the the other ones, the MPPT. It's early for me. All right, let's see. So I will be doing more on solar stuff there for sure. So, and yeah, it looks like you're going to be living in a camper van. Yeah. My goal is to have 1,000 watts on this 65. If I can pull that off, that'll be exciting. I'm 200 watts away from that right now. And I'm thinking about putting I have 2 more 100 watt panels that match perfectly, that can fit on the back. I just got to do it right. All right, so EMB says, hello, Fry. Well, howdy. So I'm leaning towards the name on the truck is Rusty, but with an E, just so everybody knows. So it'll be Rust, and I guess a space E or a dash E. I'm not sure how I'll have to do that, so I need suggestions on proper grammar. But yeah, Rust E with it, that would be standing for electric. And I was also kind of thinking about Cyber Rust, which, that's too close to Cyber Truck. So that's the ones I was leaning towards now that people have suggested the names. But yeah, I like all the names everybody suggested, but I wanted to keep it shorter, and Rust E is probably the way I'm going to go, with an E instead of a Y. Let's see what else we got here. This video is a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but that's just the way it is. Like, share, subscribe. Love you all, and as you can see, it's coming together. I really like the way the bottom board turned out mechanically and aesthetically to do the locking mechanism on the side panels. So that was definitely an upgrade. And yeah, I guess the next couple of videos is going to be a lot more wiring. And of course, tomorrow is the car show, because today is the last day I get to work on it. So it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. Love you all. Please like, share, subscribe. Hit that like button, because it seems like YouTube seems to like that. And yeah, I really want the bamboo stuff. I don't have time to put the bamboo on it like I want for the car show. But I'm going to try to work some bamboo in there today. I'll do my best. Love you all.